Hey y'all, it's been a while. Welcome back. It's it was more than a month, which was not my intent, but I moved and I did a lot of cool things. Mostly moving, not gonna lie to you. But I'm in my new place, so now we're back to our regularly scheduled weekly episodes. So just a fun little thing I've decided to do. I decided to open it up a little bit and do some, at least for this fall, I wanted to make some episodes about uh pop culture classics, if that makes sense. So we're gonna get into some Stephen King, some must reads for fall. And so we got planned Stephen King, we have planned Interview with Vampire. I'm going to also try and possibly hit Dracula if I can find a guest that wants to be on it. So I will keep you guys posted if that happens. But we have quite a few of Salem's Lot episodes coming up, so I hope you all will enjoy them. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bookish podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Salem's Lot with two of my very good friends. So we have Nova, who's been on a lot of episodes at this point. I feel like I say that, but I don't really think you've been on that many. But my brain's like all of the episodes. Every episode is.
I think I've been on more of your Patreon ones at this point than anything. Because you're like, hey, Patreon idea. Do you want to do it? I'm like, sure, let's do it.
You're like, hell yeah, let's do that. And then we also have James, who is the Gothic Storyteller over on Twitch.
Hello.
I should probably note that these videos are not going to be used, just so you know.
I know, so it's like, I'm doing all these weird hand signals, and it's all like, people are like, what the hell is this dork?
Nah, it's the Twitch energy. We get used to the video being used, and then I just go to edit, and I'm like, video, throw it away.
You're trying to be so lively, but I don't have a very lively voice. I have more of a relaxing voice from what I've been told, so...
Yeah, well, I was told I have a monotone voice, but, I was like, I heard that, and I was like, what if I start a podcast? So, I don't know. I don't take anybody's words with what our voices sound like, personally. I also have, a lot of hand gestures, too, which isn't helpful on an audio medium.
Oh, yeah, that is for sure.
It's fine. Imagine that.
You also do
You do know Spotify has video, right?
I just don't want to edit video. I don't.
You make faces, and it's like...
Literally. Too many faces. I should just, describe them all the time.
Because I know you so well, I have gotten to the point I can listen to your podcast, and you'll pause to make a face, and I know exactly what face you're making.
That sounds right.
Well, half the time, whenever I listen to some of her podcasts, it's all like, I can imagine the eye rolls and everything, and then it's all like when you're talking about this one specific thing, and it's like, oh my god, it's just a book, don't go that deep into it. And it's like oh my god, and it's like I'll be sitting there laughing while I'm having breakfast, and it's like the savageness in this woman, I swear.
Listen, what else is gonna give me the serotonin that I need? I could work out, but you know what's more fun? Ripping apart old classics who the authors aren't alive. Except Stephen King's still alive, so we're fine.
Is he now a classic? Is he considered a classic now?
I am considering him in modern classics, personally. I do classics and I do modern classics, so I was like, throw it in there.
I feel like at this point, he is well known enough that he just falls into the classics, even though he's still alive. It's just, oh yeah, there he is.
Well, his works go all the way back to the 70s with, I think, Carrie, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
So that's been 50 years, but I don't know. To me, I usually don't consider anything a classic until the author's been dead for more than 10 years, and then it's like, bam, it's a classic. It's like what they did to the past. Like Lovecraft and Poe and all the other ones. They have to be dead for a certain amount of time before they're considered a classic.
Yeah.
See, I throw things in modern classic because, like,
Yeah.
the problem is that if you just read, quote, classics, you're just going to get a lot of white men, and that's annoying. So I don't want to do that. So it's open to interpretation. If you don't think it's a modern classic, I don't really care. But this is my podcast, so too bad.
Oh my god.
Okay, let's talk about Salem Lots, friends. So, the prologue, which, first of all, love a good prologue. Always love a good prologue.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the get-go, we get these two dudes traveling around, getting jobs along the way, trying to find something called Jerusalem's Lot. And I love when you get the title of the book right at the beginning. Nothing brings me more joy.
It's like Family Guy whenever Peter's in the theater and they say the name of the title of the movie, and then Peter's like, like they just said the name of the movie.
Yes, I love it so much. This kid's having nightmares. This man doesn't want to blot out Jerusalem's Lot, whatever that means. Don't know. I still don't know what's going on with these people. But we have that. So after getting a book deal, the man crosses the border and they live in Los Zapatos? I don't know how to say that.
Zapatos or something like that?
Maybe.
You figured me living in Texas, I should know Spanish pretty damn well, but I don't. So
I could call my siblings.
Help you with French.
Same.
Not Spanish.
I could call my siblings, but I don't feel like it. So
yeah,
we'll just guess, and then everybody can email me about how I'm wrong. It's fine.
That's fair too.
Oh, and apparently that means the shoes. So whatever shoes is in Spanish, that.
Yeah.
So the boy is being taken to the church for reasons, I guess. And then we finally get a news article about Jerusalem's Lot, and apparently it's a ghost town. Apparently the entire town just simply vanished in the middle of the day, in the middle of whatever they were doing, which I feel like is kind of a movie trope we start seeing a lot with like dystopian things. And I guess it like arcs back to Roanoke, right? Is that the town that disappeared?
Yes. Yeah, Roanoke, yes.
With is it Croatoan that was carved onto the tree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Honestly, I feel like it's just a spicy meme, right? Like,
what?
Like, I just feel like if you really wanted to prank and get out of taxes, you just disappear and make it seem like the entire town just up and disappeared like a spicy meme. Just throwing it out there.
Interesting. I was gonna say, I think it could even go back to Pompeii. I think they did it best.
Well, yeah, that was like a lot more scary, but yeah.
Yeah. Fiery volcano and,
Fiery volcano or tax evasion. I don't know. Have you seen that new video game that says Turnip Boy and Tax Evasion or something?
What?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I have Game Pass and it popped up and I was like, ooh.
If the IRS is listening, that's I'm totally paying my taxes. So.
Yeah, if the IRS is listening, that's I'm totally paying my taxes. Don't worry.
Rachel's just gonna disappear for the longest time. We're gonna be like, "Oh, where's Rachel?" And this will be evidence that she committed tax fraud and she's in jail.
Me hiding out at camp. How'd you get here? Me, right. Tax evasion.
They never know you're there.
So apparently everybody just like started kind of slowly moving out of this town until everybody disappeared. And they kind of seem to have like left in the middle of whatever they were doing for the day, which is strange. There's also absolutely no businesses left in Salem's Lot, which is something that kind of arcs back to like when mining was a big thing. Those like ghost mining towns where like the mines dried up and then people are like, there's no reason to live 50 miles away from the nearest railroad track. We should probably go.
Yeah.
So it's like when nobody lives there, businesses can't stay afloat. Everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Loki was like, was this what happened? Like, are we gonna get like some mining story? There's like this tragic accident and everyone's like, peace, bye.
That's
But
what I
you're
would
not
have
wrong.
said.
You're not wrong, because as someone who has read this book, I'm now on my third time with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you guys are poking these questions, I'm like over here like a dungeon master. I'm just smiling. It's like I know everything. So you're not wrong. You're close. You're pretty close,
You just gotta play your cards close to your chest and be like, "We'll see. We shall."
I'm the guy right
see."
here that's doing my best not to shout spoilers because this is their first time, I think,
Yeah.
reading the
Yes.
book. I'm the king aficionado, I guess, of a sense, because most of my books back here are all king. That's who I mostly read.
You're
That
king of
to
king.
me, that's Triple H, but that's different. So.
No, I like it. I mean, Stephen King's writing is one of those things where it's a very specific style. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's not
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite, but I like it.
The thing that I've noticed with King's style is that it doesn't take long for you to get lost in his world, especially in his writing style. But the thing that I've really learned is that there are certain books that he has written that it takes me a long time to get into, like Insomnia. I think I only had 30 pages left of the book and I just stopped because
Mhm.
it kind of felt like he was just he was like slowing stuff down way too much. And it's like, come on, get to the point.
Mhm.
And then whenever I read one of his Bachman books, it was the only Bachman book I ever read. I think I only made it halfway through and I stopped because I just couldn't. I could not handle it. Was some of the writing style, but also too it was just the context of the story and everything. But there is one thing, not to derail too much, but when I discovered the Dark Tower series, after reading book 1 and then getting into book 2, it was like, okay, I really, really like this. But the moment I got into book 3, holy hell, folks, it felt like just putting on a sock. It felt so familiar and it was so easy that when you get into book 3, it's like running. It's like
Mhm.
he taught you how to crawl, taught you how to walk, now you can run. And yeah, to me, that his style in that series has to be some of the most easiest stuff for him to write, and you could tell it's so easy for him to write that you know it's just easier to get into a King book than anything.
I wish I had the discipline to write like Stephen King does. Like the quantity that he puts out.
Yeah.
I just wish I was
Yeah.
that disciplined. I know logically it's no longer motivation at that point. It's all discipline, but I cannot seem to like wrap my head around that concept.
Yeah.
Also, his full-time job and not your full-time job.
Yeah, that's fair.
You see the writers that they're writing his full-time job and they're putting out like 4 to 6 books a year because that's all they
Yeah.
do is just sit and write.
One of my writer friends does that, and I'm like, I want to be you. Let me be you. How does it feel to live my dream?
Right? Rude.
Yeah, but
I mean, no,
wasn't
good for
like
them,
King
but
still
rude.
King was still, I think, working as a teacher, like even way past him doing Carrie, if I remember right. Because I want to sit there and say I think he
Mhm.
had already finished Carrie, and I think he was working on Salem's Lot
Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
and
this is one of
everything.
his very
Yeah.
first books.
Yeah, this is like number 2 or number 3, if I remember correctly.
I have it in my I can tell you for sure when I figure out where I put my hardcover. It's over there
It
somewhere.
legit says the number out of whatever 100 books this man has written.
It says it in his autobiography thing in the very beginning. I have a little thing.
Oh, okay.
That's where I read that it was like one of
People
his
actually
first.
read those. I just skip all that stuff and get to the story.
Salem's Lot says it's second.
Nice.
Okay.
I
knew it was...
just Googled chronological order.
We could have done that, but it's fine.
So.
Fair enough. Oh, apparently the boy though confesses what happened at the church in Jerusalem's Lot, and we're still just not getting to learn it, which is fun and fine and dandy. And then the priest asks if they understand what they did in Salem's Lot and what they intend to do about it. And then, so they're going back into Salem's Lot, and the boy's like, "Do you love me?" And the man's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, weird, but okay.
Yeah,
What's a wholesome? Hey?
Ben and Mark have a very father-son dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
In the story, you can definitely sit there and see that. So it's weird at the beginning. You're like, what? And then once you get further on, it's like, oh, okay, well, that was nice. Creepy at the start, but that was nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out who Mark is now that we know who Ben is. Wait, right? Yeah.
But Ben is who we were first introduced to, and then the boy is Mark.
Okay. Yeah, I cannot wait to figure out who Mark is. But then we get part 1, a quote from The Hill House, which is kind of weird. I forget that Hill House is technically a classic and not just a Netflix TV show, to be honest. Until because I don't do much horror personally. So every time I see a like horror book and they put a quote in it, it's a lot of the time it's from Hill House, and they're just like,
Yeah.
blah, here you go. And I'm like, whoa, excuse me. Why is this here?
Yeah.
Apparently I'm just gonna need to read Hill House. I haven't seen the Netflix TV show either, so
I think Hill House is like, it's a really, really good book, but holy hell, it gets overly quoted. A lot of people overly quote that book, and then it's like you do know that woman wrote other books, right? You can quote anything else from other than Hill House. Like, I've at least read 6 or so other books. 2 of them are from modern time that have quoted Hill House, and
I just want to know if it's being misquoted. Like, that's part of the big reason I want to read it.
That's fair. Yeah.
I like it. I like doing that.
I think King would do his homework not to misquote something.
No, but in general, like the other books,
Yeah.
that are like, or if the quotes are just taken very much out of context and someone's like passing by and they say something that's like really fucked up, and people are like, "Ooh, let me
like
write
they
that
think it's all wise and everything," and like the other
Yeah.
person's like, "Dude, like you really know what that means?" Like someone
People just go on to Goodreads quotes and just pull a random quote out and be like, "This fits perfectly," and it's like the complete opposite context.
Yep. But we are on to chapter 1, Ben. So he's on the highway. He left Salem's Lot when he was 7, it sounds like, which was 25 years ago. So you can do the math and find out how old he is. He sees Marston House, which seems to matter. Which we find out is basically the plot of this book is Marston House and why it's the center point of this entire town. So this dude recently lost his wife in a motorcycle accident, and things are not looking good for him. He seems to be on a mental decline. Which, fair enough.
Really, though?
Yeah, like, I couldn't imagine.
Right? I'm like...
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, like, timeline-wise where we were at, how long this had been since the prologue, but it seems like we are in the past, obviously, which I learned, yes, we are, from the prologue. The prologue takes place in the, quote, future/present day. This is past. But yeah, the town seems normal. Obviously, it's not a ghost town, so people live there.
Yeah. It's just your small little New England town. Like, that's pretty much what Jerusalem's Lot is.
Mm-hmm.
New England town's normal? What? Since when?
Not in Stephen King's world, but yeah, you know.
Stephen King furiously writing, how much worse can we make Maine?
It's funny because obviously I know Maine, and going through it, and he just like mentioned random things, and I'm like, yep. I'm like, oh god, here we go. I'm like, that's actually accurate.
I read a book once that took place like a few towns away from me, and I was like, please no. I was like, I don't like this. I hate when you're reading a book and it's like things that could definitely be happening in your town, or it sounds like eerily similar to the town you live in, and you're like, whoa, please stop. This is weird.
Yeah.
So then we're on to chapter 2, Susan. They flash to a younger Ben meeting Susan, which, okay, here was the problem. I thought Susan was his first wife. I didn't realize who Susan was. Susan is new. Susan is not the first wife that died. But he meets Susan because Susan is drawing in the park. Turns out she's reading the book he wrote, which is a... Okay, sometimes it's like kind of weird when writers write about people writing, and then like in that they're like other people are reading their book, and I'm like, okay, this is a little fan service for you. That's fine, but it's weird.
Yeah,
it's like a weird inception that that's why you see very few books of like someone is an author in the book, because it's just like a weird like subject to even like to write about. Here, I'm going to write about being an author.
Yeah, I was told by my screenwriter teacher that it was like very, very lazy. It's like, write about someone that's interesting. Writers aren't interesting. And
yep,
it's all
I
like,
got that.
It's like they can be. It just depends on who you're writing about, you know.
I feel like it has to serve purpose. Yeah, true. I feel like having a writer as your main character has to serve a purpose, and in this one it obviously does, but like most of the time it doesn't. It just gives your character it just gives your character an occupation, which meh.
Yeah. There's one book, not to derail, but Peter Straub's Ghost Story. They kind of have it where the main character is a bit more of a writer, and you know, I kind of like sat there and thought like, oh god, like it's like a writer is like the main character, but he's not really the main character. He's more like an ensemble, because that's how the book felt, like an ensemble kind of thing. But found a really, really good way to interject a writer to kind of be more of your your frame to like some of the other stories, especially whenever like the story's supposed to take place elsewhere outside of the town, and that person right there did the perfect framework for that and everything. So if it's done well, if it's done very, very well, then it can be for your benefit, but it shouldn't be done all the time, you know. It should be used correctly and not just as a lazy writing technique, just so you can have your character say something very flowery or whatever, you know.
As a cop out, sometimes I just make all of my characters marketing professionals, because I know it like the back of my hand. So whatever.
Well, you write what you know, so
yeah. I do a lot of like background writers where like they write, but it's not a focus. They'll be like, oh, what do you do for a career? And they're like, oh, you know, I just like freelance, right? Or I have a pen name and I write, and like that's the gist of it.
Yeah, it's fine. The choices we have to make. So we get Ben and Susan flirting. Ben came to town to write a novel. Susan wants to leave town to go to New York City. So obviously we have that going on. So she'll probably end up... Well, I guess she won't, because I was going to say she'll probably end up leaving town with him. But I guess we already know from the prologue that she does not, in fact, do that. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Maybe she's in New York City. Who knows? So Stephen King's flirting is terrible. In most of his books that I read, I guess it is very 70s flirting, but I'm like, man, come on.
Like today's flirting is far different because, you know, it's like people try to borrow some of that old school flirting, and then it kind of comes off very creepy. So then when you really think about it, what counts as flirting in today? Because what could be considered flirting today can still even be called creepy. You know, we just live in that kind of...
Exactly.
We live in that kind of world where it's like, oh, I think you're cute. And then the person's like, ew, you creeper. And it's like, oh my God. Like, you know...
Oh, your hair looks so pretty today. Excuse me, what?
I'll say this, like, I like demanding men only in fiction. A demanding man flirting in any sense of the capacity, when I read it in a book, I'm like, or if my friend came up to me and they're like, he demanded I went to dinner with him, I'd be like, run. That's like 15 red flags right there.
Don't run towards them, run away from them.
The other way.
It's like you hear like old people's love story and they're like, yeah, well, I just kept showing up at her job and demanding to see her, and you're like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, that's
why didn't you call the cops, Grandma?
Yeah.
I feel like some of that, depending on the story, goes back to like also, you know, we don't have the connection we do now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the only way you're ever going to see someone is, hi, I showed up at your work today. How are you doing? Whereas like now I can be like, oh my God, Rachel. Guess what?
Yeah, texting across state lines.
Yeah.
Tinder didn't exist in the 70s. How are they going to meet people?
Yeah, right.
You just
in all the ways we find really creepy. Yeah.
Anyways, after roasting. After roasting Stephen King's flirting, he trauma dumps the moment he meets Susan, which, you know, what else could you want in a man? Only green flags here.
Listen, you gotta lay it out all on the table first off, so they know.
Listen, you grab your glass of wine and then you're like, just so you know, right from the get-go, I have a fear of being alone. Listen, how to get a man 101. Trauma dump. The rules. So, there's some random dude that seems to have some claim over Susan, so you know, our main man's Ben is probably going to get in a turf war, fight for her honor. They're going to joust at sunset. We'll see.
Jousting in his little foreign car and everything, just like hanging out there. It's like
no horses, only foreign vehicles.
I would pay to see that. I would pay to see that. You know,
I want it with pool noodles, and like very, very long pool noodles so they can't stay up all the way, and they just flop in the wind. I just think it'd be funny. A little limp.
Yeah.
I can't wait till people, you know, take that out of context or just misquote me, but it'll be fine.
I'll be there.
Can't wait for that audio to end up on TikTok. Anyways. So, we get a bunch of background on this town. Seems like a normal small town, which small town's normal, but you know, whatever. So Susan goes home and tells her mom all about Ben's existence. Susan's mom seems to think she's gonna be marrying someone named Floyd, and Susan's like, listen, I told you we broke up, and also I don't like him. And Susan's mom's like, but Susan, he's your first ever boyfriend.
Yeah, Susan's mom is those old school, like, she kind of almost in a sense picked out Susan's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all like, no, he's a good boy, and it's like, no, he's not, you know, like later on down the road, but like, yeah, it's very much grooming. It's grooming,
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and everything, and it's that stuff was common during the 70s. So yeah, looking at it through today's lens, it's like, ew, that's gross. But believe it or not, there's still people who do it. There's people who do it today that do grooming. So yeah, that's pretty much what Susan's mom is a groomer.
Yeah, and she's like, hey, this is the man you're gonna marry. Don't mind the fact that right now he's probably passed out in his car at Dell's throwing up everywhere. He's the perfect man for you. And it's like, all right, we're gonna take those rose-colored glasses and we're gonna throw them in the freaking garbage because this is awful.
Yeah.
You might have to take the whole eyeball out at this point, because I think those are just rose-colored at this point.
Yeah, how did she get the contact lenses in there? I don't understand. Where did you buy them?
The contact lenses went on and they just got seared on and they don't come off.
Oh my God.
Glass eyes, but they're just rose-colored. So Susan's mom found out that Ben is staying at a place that specifically won't allow sex. And I'm like, why do you have this hotel in your town? This is weird. It's a weird thing to have.
It's a very normal thing to have, actually.
I was like, what? How is she gonna know? Listening at the door every night. I don't know. Seems weird.
All the beds are made squeaky.
Yeah. You never know. That guy could be in there with a bowl of fruit or something. So
Those cardboard beds from the Olympics. Only
Yeah.
those. So, we finally get the story on why Ben wants to rent that other place, the Marston house. And apparently, the story we get from the get-go is that this rich retired couple lived there, and the wife was shot dead in the kitchen. Then a gun was pointed at the front door, ready to fire whenever someone opened the door to see what was going on. And then the husband died by suicide upstairs. And I'm like, that's kind of a lot to take in. Kind of a lot to just throw out in chapter 2. But it's fine. Like, I like that we just get, hey, here's the history of this really, like, messed up thing that happened in our town.
Yeah. It's a lot of setup for Ben. Like, what's weird, it's usually you can sit there and you can see in a lot of, like, just storytelling in general, you know, what's your character's weakness? What is their purpose for this whole story? And it's kind of odd because when you look at Jerusalem's Lot, you know, it's like okay, what's Ben's purpose? What is Ben's purpose here? Okay, it's to write about the house. You know, and so yeah, when you get like all this, it's a whole lot to sit there and swallow in, you know, about, you know, Ben's actions in here. But yeah, that house, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna get on to like the next time, our next recording. I'll have to jump in a little bit more, but yeah, the Marston house is very, very important in this town. But like, it's kind of like, it's like in most King's fiction, is there's always that one haunted house in town, or just that one house in town that everyone talks about, and it's never ever a good place to be, and everything. And
all right, I guess poll time. Do any of you guys have a haunted house in your towns that's like everybody talks about?
We kind of had this one weird house. It was actually up the street where I used to live. The neighbors used to own it, but whenever they were getting ready to move, they ended up tearing it down. But like, it looked like something that came out of a Stephen King book. It was falling apart. It was deteriorated. I actually been inside it, and it's like so freaking eerie. I remember getting my ass beat just going inside that house. It's like, you don't ever go inside that house, and it's like, why? Because it's haunted, and it's like, no, it's someone else's property, and it's like, oh, okay. So that's where I learned that as a child. You can't just walk in the abandoned houses, because, you know. But yeah, that thing got tore down. But I remember as a kid walking up the street to wait for the school bus, I always used to sit there and think that there was someone outside the window looking down at me. So I felt that vibe, and don't feel it anymore now. You know, it's nothing but a bunch of RVs there. So.
No, would you have a haunted house?
I don't really know about haunted. I mean, the school was haunted, but you know.
Yeah, we had school hauntings.
What?
But there's like, yeah. I mean, there's just like houses people talk about. That's more like, can we run these people out of town?
Oh, like
yeah.
Every town has a couple of those. So,
but then it's like we had our quote unquote middle school was haunted because it was freshly built and we were like in elementary school watching it get built. So we just had like plenty of rumors flying around the entire time. So there's like this running like superstition that like 4 people died while building this. Because it was like, so it's 2 levels. So there's like a thing that apparently someone fell off the second level and fell a story and died, and then like they would quote, when if you stayed after hours, they would run up the stairs behind you. So when we were in middle school and we were after hours at school, like we always were because we were in yearbook because we're freaking nerds, we'd like dare each other to run up the stairs to see if we could hear the ghost running behind us.
There was one like that in my
the Florida Winchester
town.
house.
Florida Winchester house.
Yeah. Listen, Florida, it's like there's not much going on to make it spooky. So
you have Florida Man and Gator Man. That's about it. So
we have in this town, it's mostly just like, you know, little. It's also tourist mostly. Mm-hmm. Like the majority of the places in town are owned by seasonal residents, and pretty much anything that is older, if it's falling apart, it goes. So something new can go up. Mm-hmm. So there's not a whole lot of old. But yeah, the school was haunted. That was fun. And then in college, there was the old frat house, which was the haunted building. And then half the college was haunted anyway, but you know.
I can imagine the frat house being haunted. I can believe that right there, but...
Because we didn't have fraternity or sororities at the house, and they were like, at college. And so the whole like superstition behind this house was it was a fraternity. Someone fell off the roof and died, so the college was like, lol, no, you're done. Boarded up the house, just let it to rot, and then everything was done. And so it's apparently like a super haunted house. And the curtains have moved while I was there. Like the top floor wasn't boarded up, and you'd go by and like one time the curtains open and then like the next it's closed, and it's like,
yeah, all
I'm gonna walk away real fast now, never coming here at night.
All of our hauntings are from the fact that like most of Florida used to be where people would go out into the fields and party in high school, so it's fine. That's most of Florida hauntings. Is like you'll just hear about how some kid died in that field over there, and you're like, why? And then they build like a house on top of it, and you're like, okay, sounds good. I'm glad we did that.
Right.
But yeah, the haunting we care about today is the Marston house. Back to the book.
After so many side tangents later.
It's fine. That's the fun part about
we were
the
talking
podcast.
about a book? Huh?
Yeah, what? So, when Ben was a kid, as initiation into his friend group, they made him go into the Super Sketch house. And he's like, I definitely saw a ghost hanging up there, which is supposedly how Mr. Marston died, or Hubby Marston died. And he's like, you know, to get over my childhood trauma, I kind of want to buy the house. I'm like, how about you don't, sir? That seems like a terrible idea. Like, why would you just want to live in your trauma?
Let's just traumatize ourselves some more. Sounds like a great plan. That trauma can overlap the other trauma, and we'll forget about the childhood trauma, you know? It's fine.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Make one problem go away by creating another.
Facts. After they go on their date and he discusses all of his childhood trauma because, you know, same. They're sitting on the porch and there's a light on in the attic of the Marston house, which should not have any power at all because nobody lives there. So there's that.
Spooky.
And then Ben kisses Susan because what's more romantic than a haunting?
Well, of course.
And then we also find out his first wife's name was Miranda. Sorry, what?
It was consensual, you know. It's not like she was beating him. It's like, no, off of me. Like, Like very much Susan was like completely like schoolgirl dazed over, like this whole meeting with Ben and everything. It's, she's in love. It's obviously we can tell just from her reaction to him, nothing ever happens in the lot. Nothing ever happens. So to have someone that grew up in the lot to a certain extent come back, and it's like, oh my god, someone famous is here, and they kind of came through here. It's like, oh my god, like, yeah.
Susan gives me the vibes of she would 100% make out in a graveyard, just for the vibe. That's the energy I'm getting.
I got the vibe when she first met Ben of possibly very creepy fangirl. Like the ones that are like, let me go like get the address of this person and stand outside and like yell at them until they love me.
So like an Annie Wilkes.
Yeah, from Misery.
See,
right?
We're overlapping King. We're overlapping King here, with other folks.
It's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Susan. I don't know why. She's really weird, but like also, I just like the energy. I like the vibe.
She grows on you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so do a lot of characters. Even some of the characters you even question in this book. Like some people that you probably would never have fraternized whatsoever in real life. But when you read this book, it's like, oh my god, like I generally actually care for this person. Why do I care about this person? And that's just the power of King's work. He could turn a villain that had sat there and done the most heinous act, and he can make you probably fall in love with that character.
Fair. It's like
Randall Flagg. So
good writing skills.
Like Ralphie, we kind of hate him, but now we kind of feel bad for him because he's missing. But chapter 3, The Lot. We're going to get introduced to the entire town here in a chapter. So this is a whole bunch. So we get the first characters waking up at 4 a.m. to milk cows. And I was like, that sounds awful. 4 a.m.? No, I stay up till 4 a.m. You will not catch me waking up at 4 a.m. That's disgusting.
Oh my gosh. That's when the light comes up. That's when you gotta get up.
No, my grandmother used to live on a farm, and she still wakes up at like 5 a.m. And I'm like, why do you do this yourself?
Farm work never ends. Sometimes. You have to do it from basically dawn to dusk.
Yeah.
Because, 1 a.m. the cows decided they were going to go for a midnight stroll down to the supermarkets. Now you got to go round them all up, bring them back home.
You could not catch me. I would own a farm, but it would just be plants because plants can't leave. Plants are stuck. Plants cannot go onto this expressway and run around rampant through a town. No, thank you. I don't want to deal with it.
If you have it big enough, you still gotta get up at 4 a.m.
I'm just gonna have the moon cat, and that's it. That sounds good for me. I don't want a farm.
From her stories, Mooncat's all she can handle, so it's especially on stream when yeah.
Yeah. This morning I was trying to get reading done, and she decided that was the proper time to try and destroy the house in my presence. So
of course.
Yeah, I was like sitting out there and she screams, which she is ought to do when she is not allowed into a place. And so I was like, fine, you can go into the bedroom. I don't care. And she walks in the bedroom, looks around, screams again. And I'm like, I don't know what to help you with. And then she wanted to go outside for a little bit. So I opened the patio door. She walks outside. They were mowing. She didn't like that. Comes back in. Gets mad at them for mowing. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, Kat. And now she's taking a power nap because apparently her morning was very stressful. But anyways, we get to hear about a boy named Hal, and he hates school, and he wants to drop out, which, mood, Hal, love that for you. Don't drop out, though, kids, if you're listening to this. I don't know why, but it's fine. Don't drop out of school.
It gets harder after school. Whether you drop out or not, it just all gets harder, so enjoy school while you can, You
don't have to go to college, but you do have to finish high school. Them's the rules.
Yes.
So they are bragging about $16,000 a year, and it did make me want to bawl my eyes out for a moment because Could you imagine that being a lot of money? Because simply, I don't understand. I wish I could survive on 16 grand a year. That would be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I made 13 last year.
The audacity that you had to sit there and instill that on us.
My rent is so expensive, Nova. It's so expensive. They were gonna raise my rent to $16.40
Move
for
to
this
Maine.
shitty 1-bedroom. I think it's not a shitty apartment, but it's like it's not the best.
Matt was trying to convince Roger that we need a gaming house and like nice big house. Yeah, or like big lot with lots of little houses.
Camp can be our hype house.
There's no internet there. There's no power there. There's no running water there.
There's no running water?
No.
No, I don't know how to tell you this. I know we talked about once doing a writing retreat. I can't poop in the woods. I can't make it happen.
There's an outhouse. Does that make it any better?
Oh
I'm uncertain.
It's like a little bathroom.
But like doesn't have plumbing. That's
no.
It's just a big hole in the ground. But there is like a toilet there. There's no flushing, but everything else is just in there.
Everything just goes down.
The only thing you have to worry about
down
is
to where? Down how far? What do you do? So do you like shit and then you like lift it up and you're like, oh, I gotta go dig the whole shitting hole and throw it all in there and just cover it? Like, what do you do? Do you just like
honest,
let it
I
smell?
don't know all the dimensions, but
No.
usually
I love the crisis I've just put you in.
Listen, it's beautiful. I love seeing it. I'm never going. Unless we get an RV, it's not happening. Because
it wouldn't make it out there. The road doesn't go all the way.
So you have to like hike to get there?
Not very far. There's a road that goes almost to it. It just is so terrible that like even Dad's truck drags.
this is a horror story that even Rachel can't even handle. Hiking to go take a poop. So.
Ma'am, I told you all of this information previously, and you're like, oh, okay.
I apparently forgot. I don't think I knew about the plumbing. I think I knew there was no internet. But I don't think I wrapped my head around the bathroom situation.
Yeah, I was like, there's no plumbing. There's no electric.
I think I just traumatically forgot that because that's horrifying to me, and I don't know what to do with that information.
But no, the outhouse you use just like you would a toilet. It just doesn't flush.
Yeah. But like sooner or later, you do sit there and you bury it all. And then you just move it to another location.
Yeah.
No.
But like that would not be something you'd have to do.
Well, yeah, that's not your issue. That's whoever runs the camp.
That'd be like mine or my dad's.
Heaven forbid you actually step in that area while it's still fresh and everything after being buried.
No.
Oh my god.
You better hope you compact that area because all I can think of is like
we have stuff that you put in it and it like helps.
All I'm
you
saying,
don't even know.
Okay.
What if we did like a beachside writing retreat? I'm just throwing
I hate
that out
the ocean. No.
Like, what if
so
we
she's
did,
okay shitting in the ocean, but not okay shitting in the ground. So.
Right.
Like, I don't know,
Poor fish.
Right?
You're just beachside like in a condo. Like a writing retreat in a condo.
They're gonna question if that's a baby Ruth or not. And...
Let's do like, I don't know, mountains of Tennessee where they have power and electric or something. Just throwing that out there. I don't know.
Oh my god.
We could go to Mackinac Island in Michigan one summer. Have you ever been to Mackinac Island?
No.
They have no cars are allowed on the entire island. See it?
I have heard of it, yeah.
It's very cool.
That's a horror story right there.
I mean, they have snowmobiles. So.
that'll somehow drive off the island and dies.
Well, no, like they wait until it's frozen and then everybody goes into like off the island on snowmobiles.
Oh my god!
I know there's like a boat because I saw people on TikTok talking about living there.
Yeah, there's a boat,
and they just ride bikes. I do know about it.
It's a nice town.
That's
nice.
not too bad.
It's only 8 miles all the way around, and they have horse-drawn characters and stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was thinking it a little bit more bigger, but okay.
It's
That's
small.
not too bad.
Yeah, they got like one strip with everything important, and then like ferry ride is like $8 or $10 each way or something. Maybe it's round trip. I don't know.
It's too fucking expensive.
I wouldn't
that
live
we take
there.
is free, so like
I wouldn't live there, but like fun little riding retreat and somewhere that has
I'd
running
live there.
water. I don't like not having access to things. It gives me anxiety.
I hate people. I hate civilization.
People do live there. There is a whole residential side of this island.
I know, but there's not a whole lot of people.
Yeah, but the horror movies that I've seen, like, to me, that's where like the werewolves come to eat you, or you become some Wicker Man sacrifice.
I am fine with that.
If you become a werewolf and you don't offer to change me into a werewolf, Nova, I will consider this friendship void. I just want to throw that out there.
If I don't change you?
If you don't offer, at least.
Oh, okay. You're not getting an offer at this point. You're just coming with me.
Whatever.
We're going down together.
You're going to be a snack or you're going to be a member of the pack.
We'll figure it out later. Anyways.
Wait,
so how?
Then you really would have to learn how to shit in the woods.
Maybe when you're like a wolf, like shitting in the woods isn't as difficult. I don't know. I can't.
We went from like Hal to shitting in the woods to living on an island to like, you better turn me into a werewolf or else our friendship is over. I thought I was horrible with this. So
why does this wolf dog keep using the toilet in Central Park? It's kind of weird.
You just walk into a restroom and it's like, what's this wolf doing here?
Oh my god.
Close the stall.
Oh my fucking
They're going animal control and you're just like, they come in, they just hear the toilet flush and you walk out and like, hold on, I gotta wash my paws.
They're like questioning, it's like, do we use the net or like, I don't think we have enough tank guard for this.
Do we use the net or do we ask her nicely at this point?
It's like, man, can you please get in the back of the truck? Oh my god.
Oh my god, can you imagine a story about a werewolf being caught by animal control? Reaching back after the full moon. That should be so funny.
The next day they come in and you're standing there and you're like, can I have clothes?
You know what? That's a short film idea. That's a short film idea.
It's also like a short romance novel idea. Just throwing that out there too.
Oh my god.
The woman is a animal catcher and the guy is turned into a werewolf.
Or vice versa. Either option I'm okay with. Oh
we met in the bathroom. She sat there and saw me struggling to sit there and wipe my own ass and everything.
She just saw me standing at a urinal and thought it was kind of weird.
My first thought was, wow, she was so beautiful. And her first thought was, how much tranquilizer juice am I going to need to put this fucker down?
Okay. Ready? Keep on.
So Hal again. Let's go back to Hal.
So, he says that there are two kinds of people you can't push around and people you can. And I'm like, okay, that's a way to look at the world, I guess.
Through a child's eyes, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, like, he's like, and my dad's one of those people that you push around. And I'm like, okay, buddy. Weird. So now it's 4:30 a.m. and we're getting the milkman, who is thinking of retiring now that his wife has, quote, finally died. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what was up with all these people, like, marrying people they hated in the 70s, but like, Jesus Christ.
It's still today, you know, if you really know, like, your neighbors and everything, like, they'll be like, why the hell did I marry this son of a bitch? And
Like,
it's
divorce is
like,
an option. I don't understand.
yeah, but with divorce comes settlements, and that's even more expensive. So to
Yeah.
them, it's just pour a little bit of cyanide in their coffee every morning and everything. So until then, you know,
Work your ass off until your wife dies, and then take your retirement.
Go date some 20-year-old and try to retrieve your youth back and everything, and
have
it's
a
pretty much what
midlife
most of
crisis.
those. Yeah, there you go. That's what it's called. Yeah, I just said it the most ugliest way possible.
I just read your mind. Don't worry about it. So then we have 5:15 a.m. and we're hanging out with Eva Miller. And I'm like, I was trying to figure out if this was a countdown to catastrophe, which in a way, yes. But I guess it's just like a good way to break up the day. But I was like, there's so many people awake way too early in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we got 6:05 a.m., which is a very specific time, with Sandy McDonald, and she's telling her baby to shut up and having a whole lot of child abuse.
Yeah. Every time that I read this book, it's always hard to sit there and check up on the. I think it's the McDougalls, if I remember correctly. I think
that looks more right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like the part of the book that I kind of wish I could skip all the time, but I still read it, and it's like, there is no saving grace with this bitch.
I'm just like
there is not, you know.
Yeah, she got like forced into marriage, and then she has this kid she doesn't want. She like tried to follow what everybody told her she had to follow, and hate everyone and everything, including her child. And I'm like, okay, like I don't think it's too late to give your kid up for adoption, to be honest. Because at least,
but then she would have to fight the husband over that of giving up the child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, glad divorce is more commonplace now. Because, oh god.
Even then, it's still messy. But when we meet later with the husband, it's like, you know, it's kind of, it more or less just makes you ask, how did she even hook up with someone like this? Because I think, what was it, she wasn't like the best and brightest at her school, but like, I think she was like considered kind of like the hot girl at that time. And like, you know, kind of looking back in my high school, you kind of still see some of those where it's like, oh, they had the whole world ahead of them, and then they got pregnant super early, you know, and you kind of like look at them as like, oh wow, like their life looked like they kind of fell apart, you know. Not saying, you know, having children at a young age does that. Like, I've seen people have outstanding careers and wonderful lives and everything, but there are just some of those folks that they just fall into the dredges of society, and it's like once school is out, it's like they just lose it, you know.
Yeah, people that
it pulls them down, whereas like other people, it lifts them up.
Yeah,
it just drags them down.
I never really like using the term peak in high school, because it's like really no one in high school ever really peaks, you know. If you really look at it, no one really peaks there. But yeah, you kind of start sitting there and really seeing who are the doers and who are the not so doers, like who's willing to work and willing to put up the life they really want. And you know, this book covers almost everyone that's in every single small town. This is gotta be, when it gets to these parts of the book of the lot, where it's like lot 1, 2, and I think there's 3 or 4 chapters of the lot where you just get a really good circumference of the characters and everything and what they're going through. This book does it so freaking well.
Yeah.
And everything, and this is a really good perception of how this is what the town is before, you know, Barlow and everyone else and you know what's going on, and then you just catch up with them, and sometimes it's something nice, sometimes it's absolute horror, and you know, it kind of makes you connect with the town a little bit more.
So then we got 6:45 a.m. with Mike Rikerson, and he's like in charge of like taking care of the dead bodies. I don't remember what that's called, but
it's a caretaker.
Yeah. Mike finds this dog skewered outside of the cemetery, and I'm like, why did that happen?
Poor
Yeah.
puppy.
It's just random and out of the blue. And then, we get hints later about like I forget that like there was a whole satanic panic in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
So we get some nods to that a little bit. And I'm like, okay. Whoops, I forgot that happened. Every time I
Yeah.
find out about it, it surprises me.
It gets slipped under the rug pretty damn quick though. Like they're like, oh, Satanists, and it's all like, really? Like the Satanists up here? It's like they're everywhere, and it's like, yeah, um, it's the media's portrayal of Satanism and all that definitely was not good,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this scene punched me in the stomach too.
Yeah, it's really sad, especially when you see the owner of Doc later and he's like can't sleep because he misses his dog and I'm like,
Yeah,
Papa.
So now it is 8 a.m. with Charlie and he's kicking children off the school bus for speaking. Like the entire bus has to be silent and then these people tried to pass notes and he kicked them off the school bus. And I'm like, dude, why?
it's like there's just some people who just don't like children,
And they always end up being school bus drivers, which I never understand.
Well, I used to be close to a school bus driver, and on my bus we used to have the most rowdiest kids, so I can probably get a good feeling why they don't like children. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they don't listen to the rules. There's always one little asshole standing up, running up and down the damn railway. You know, kind of makes you not really want to like kids because they're not around their parents, they're not around any real authority figure. So you're kind of helpless. You're stuck in between driving the bus off the road or just stopping the bus and beating the shit out of them. Like, that's the only, that's the stress that they're stuck in. And they're just over here like, I just need to get these kids home and everything so that I can go to the bar, go to Dell's and go have a drink and everything. And like, that's pretty much just kind of, at least that's from a child's eyes at the time, seeing the bus driver. It's all like, they can easily kill us so damn easily, but they have so much patience and willpower.
See, the funny thing about me is my school installed this like program called safety patrols for us. So in that, part of your power was that you got to write referrals for other students. Like I think they weren't like,
oh my god,
strictly referrals. It was more of like a warning from us and then like the teachers reviewed them. But we also had power still on the school bus. And we had like these little like vest things we wore called safety patrols. So that's how they prevented like the rowdiness of middle school. Or I think it was mostly elementary school, is like instilling this situation on the bus, and then we'd all like monitor and report other students, which was a little weird, but now that I think about it, but
Yeah, no, down here in Texas, you'd been bullied out of your position like immediately. Texas children can be mean, I think that's just how we were raised. We were just raised to be mean to each other.
It is now 9 a.m. with Craig. We learn more about Ralph Miller's death, and apparently he worked. Okay, sorry. This is the second Ralph, so I just got confused in my own notes because we have Ralph and then we have Ralphie. So
yeah,
apparently he worked in the office when the fire broke out, and they had to have employees mostly put out the fire because the fire department sucks and is far away. But he didn't die there. He later dies by slipping into a shredder at the mill 9 years after the fire. I'm like, why are we learning about the fire then? For dramatic effect, I guess.
The fire does actually come into effect later on.
Oh, okay.
There is a backstory with Ben where it talks about Ben's time in the lot because he wasn't born in the lot. He went to go live with his aunt who lived in the lot, and that's how he kind of knew some of the folks. Mm-hmm. He went to the schools and everything. So fire is a real huge symbolism in this book. Okay. So it comes up very much.
Okay, good to know. Now we are at 10 a.m. With the school bully, Richie, and he keeps using queer as a slur, which is just not great. Very 70s, but still, I'm like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't
I
have PC
hate
culture back then.
I hate when like people use that kind of stuff, but at the same time, like if it's part of the character, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
okay,
to
because
be faithful for the
there
character and the
are
time.
people like that who are just trash, and
Yeah.
it's like you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it. Just
I mean, he's
screams.
supposed to be a terrible person. He is a terrible person. He used terrible slurs.
Exactly.
So it makes
Mhm.
sense, but I'm also like, ugh.
It
And
makes
then
me
we watch
super
Richie
uncomfortable at the same time.
yeah, and then we watch Richie get beat up. So it's like, or Ralphie get beat up. I don't know why I wrote Richie in my notes. His name is Ralphie, but it's fine. So yeah, we watch Ralphie get beat up. So that's good. Uh, he's like goes to make fun of this kid who's a nerd, and he's like four eyes. The kid like bends his arm and almost breaks his arm, and I'm like, yeah, good, love that.
This is our introduction to Matt. That's who that was Matt that almost broke his arm. So
Oh, Matt from the prequel.
yeah, this is our introduction to
Oh.
Matt and
Okay.
everything, because he looks at Matt as a sissy and everything because he wears glasses, and he's just a new kid. So
Mhm.
that's just pretty much it. And so you know how bullies are, new kid on first day,
Yeah.
and it backfired. You know.
Yeah, in a spectacular way. It was very good.
Yeah.
And then it's 11:15 with Dud Rogers, and he's what they call a dump custodian, which is, I think they just made up a job for this man.
It's it. I've never heard it called that, but like, yeah, you usually have someone at like, especially like a landfill, who usually is like the monitor of it. Like when you have your trash day, they come in and they kind of direct things.
I've also never heard them live at the dump, but
Yeah,
I
I
kind
remember
of
the
think that he's
living,
almost
but
like
like
Weasel Craig, where he's like almost homeless, but they kind of found a job for this guy, and so it's all like, I don't even know if they actually even know he lives there.
I
You
don't think
know?
they do.
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like he's homeless, and that's just he has some place to be and do things.
Yeah. That's his daily job, to go buy his daily bullets, to go shoot his daily rats and
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
Lots of rats in this novel.
yeah.
So
I
then it
hate
is
rats.
noon, and we get Lawrence Crockett. He's a real estate person, and then someone named Straker comes by to buy the Marston house for $1 as well as a piece of like office building situation, like a storefront,
Mhm.
I guess, in
Yeah.
town, also for $1. Super sketchy. And he's like, "We're gonna have a deal, you and I. You're gonna do whatever I say." And I don't really understand what Lawrence's benefit is, but he's doing it, so there's that.
What if he gives into this, then there is supposed to be like a mall being built in a certain location that I think Straker is going to give him. If I remember, I think it's like a land deed or something like that, or I think it's supposed to be some type of title or whatever. But pretty much, if he follows along with this, Crockett's going to make more money off of this deal than what he thinks. So he has to deal with the $1. He has to get rid of the old laundromat, or sell the laundromat in the Marston house for $1. And he's supposed to get some type of land eater title, and he'd get more money, but it's more of an investment later down the road and
Okay.
everything. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Straker walked in there demanding and saying, "You're not going to lose money on this deal, but if you help, you'll get this and everything. And if you mention this to anyone, then you won't get shit." So yeah, Straker definitely knew how to. He definitely knew how to work Crockett in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knew this guy is very like in the gray dealings. So then we are on to 1 p.m. with Susan again. Not much happens over there. 3 p.m. with Bonnie Sawyer, and we just see her cheating on her husband for no reason.
Happened a lot.
Yeah, guess so. Then we're on to 4 p.m. with Ben again. He finished writing, and then he looks out at the Marston house and sees that there's a car there. 5 p.m. with Matthew Burke. He's an English teacher. And then he also notices that someone's at the Marston house. And then we're on to 6 p.m. with Bill. He's Susie's dad, and he's bonding with Ben, which is kind of weird. Like, they talk a lot, like, basically the same.
Yeah.
A little bit, which is strange to me, but... And the mom, like, freaking hates Ben.
Yeah, Mom is like, Ben, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seemingly for no reason, to be honest.
Well, I do think that she doesn't look at Ben as an actual member of the lot and everything. And, you know, also, too, she keeps listening to another member of the lot, which does a lot of gossiping. So, for one, she doesn't feel, oh, this man randomly came in, he stole my daughter's heart. You know, she's all goo for gaga while she was still somewhat in a relationship with her previous, you know, love. And there's some red flags there, but like you kind of have like a little bit of an understanding. But other than that, she wants this one boy to be her son-in-law and not Ben. And it's more of her own thoughts of, he's a writer, he's not really a man, he doesn't have any job where, you know, his hands are rough and coarse like the other members of the lot. And, you know, and it kind of pisses her off that he's already won over the husband, you know, which usually it's the switch effect in most relationships. It's harder to get dad's blessing than it is mom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we're on to 7 p.m. with Floyd Tibbets. He's at a bar, and they're just randomly talking about Satan worshippers, as you do, apparently. We're got 7:30 p.m. with Marjorie, and she's the mother of the school bully, and the kids are gonna go and like mess with that kid that he picked on earlier. They're gonna go, like, I guess pick on him again. I don't really know, but they were headed that way, and they decided to cross through the woods. And then, you know, suddenly they feel like they're enveloped by darkness, and then we get flipped to 9 p.m. With Mabel, and she's eavesdropping on random people's phone calls and spying on people with binoculars. Then it's 11:59 p.m. and we're getting some sort of devil worship joke again about like the Lord of the Flies and like in the graveyard, and not really sure what's going on with that, but that's what happens there.
Yeah. Going back to Marjorie, Marjorie is the Glick boys' mother, and what it is the boys want to sit there and they want to go visit Mark, because Mark supposedly has like this new horror like monster model and everything, but their mother doesn't approve of it, so like they have to like kind of hush and kind of cover it up just for them to sit there and go run out right before dark to go visit Mark. So it's kind of like Mark's only friends, if you could kind of say friends, but Mark is still new here and everything. So that's pretty much, it's supposed to set up for the next chapter with the Glick boys and everything, and what happens to them, and what essentially kicks off all of this supernatural drama that the rest of the book unfolds, you know. So yeah.
But yeah, that's all we have to talk about today. And we're going to continue reading on with the next chapters next week. But we'll start with you, Nova, I guess. Nova, where can the people of the internet find you and your stuff?
Dear God. You always ask me this, and I'm always like immediately blank. You can pretty much find me anywhere at Novosaurus Rex. There you go.
A good way to sum it up. James, where
you can find everything else from there.
Yeah. It's all linked together. Whatever.
Yeah. For me, you can find me on any of the socials at the Gothic Storyteller. I have a link tree everywhere, so it links you to everything. So it's not that hard to find me once you find, you know, everything there. So
yeah.
I also have a link tree, and it's just very out of date at this point.
I feel that, right? Like
I need lots of things that have to go on it. My bad.
But we will catch you all in the next chapter. Bye.
Bye.
see you later.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. If you want to find me, I'm at Barely Bookish on all the major platforms. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and those are the only ones that really matter to me. I try and use Twitter. I'm not very good at it. Next month's Patreon is going to be about Salem's Lot, the 2004 version. So if you want to watch that movie when we get to the end of the episodes, feel free to do so. And also, if you join the Patreon, you can join for as low as $1. You get access to a bunch of bonus episodes. There's like a year's worth of bonus episodes on there now. Plus, just like a bunch of other cool things. And you get episodes early, so you get it on Monday instead of Wednesdays. So that's fun. So consider joining, because why not? Plus, you know, it helps support the show, and I appreciate it. Also, if you want to see my face once in a while, I am on Twitch, so you can do writing sprints with me, especially because Nano's coming up, and I am determined to finally finish one of the books that I'm trying to write. Okay? It's gonna happen one day, and I'm just hoping that day will be this month. I don't know. I'm doing my best, okay? But without further ado, we will see you guys in the next episode where we are going to be continuing on with Salem's Lot. Okay, bye!